really I'm here today to talk to you about Datahug, and I think we all appreciate in this room that relationships matter in business. So whether it's your existing customers or new potential customers or prospects, and really the challenge with that is around the subjectivity or the how intangible it is to actually unlock who you know, how well you know them for the purposes of driving business and kind of keeping customers engaged. So Datahug has really taken a data-driven approach to remove that kind of manual nature around capturing that information. So just a bit of a background for myself, maybe set a bit of context. So founded Datahug with colleague Conor Murphy 4 years ago now. Background before that was very much a techie, so I put on my anorak every now and then, and went off to work with Accenture for about 8 years, based out of Dublin, but traveled the world and worked in a lot of businesses, financial services, public sector, insurance and so on. Very much rolling out the big heavyweight business intelligence tools and CRM tools. And that was really where, the first kind of taste for the challenge or the problem that exists in the world today, which is, there's a tsunami of data that's out there, and we talk about big data being, a buzzword, but there is an absolute tsunami of data there. It's a case of how do you get actionable insight from that. So, the second part of that challenge, which we'll come on to in a sec, was really around when you come to do business development in an organization, there's all this data sitting here, but you quite simply can't answer the question, who do we know and how well do we know them? So just by a quick show of hands, who has ever experienced in their organization an email that went around saying, do we know someone in company X? Or what happened with that marketing lead? Or, how are we engaged? It's a common enough problem. And that's what we'll come on to talk around. So just a very brief background on Datahug. Some of you may be aware, there's a couple of customers in the audience. We're a team of 30, very much small, lean, kind of cloud SaaS company, founded in Dublin, very much grown in North America with our headquarters based in New York, an office in San Francisco. A couple of big time kind of backers or investors, angel investors like Ron Conway, DFGA, and more recently Salesforce invested in the company. And we'll come on to how that fits naturally with the CRM ecosystem and the marketing automation ecosystem. We also got nominated last year for the Gartner Cool Vendor in CRM space, and you'll probably find out why in a couple of minutes. So going back to that pain point in my days in Accenture, rolling out for big customers, big clients in the financial services space and so on, it was really around the challenge with rolling out these big tools, and they've definitely got more streamlined, but really super nimble, business intelligence tools that exist today. But back then it was very much, your data warehouse, your big OLAP model, and then you're kind of handing over to the client, and they were like, what do you want me to do with this? What information am I going to get from this, and how do I drive it? So that was kind of part of the challenge. And even with CRM systems, it was a case of, what do I have to put into this to get the value out? So the data entry challenge was a huge barrier. It's a manual process, and it's like fundamentally you have your resources out on a daily basis, engage with customers and prospects, but then you expect them to come back into the organization and sit there in front of a computer and type all that information in. It's, you'd rather them out there engaging with the customers on a continuous basis. So really, as part of that challenge, it was a case of, when I kind of progressed my career in Accenture, it was around, I had to, want to make partner, I have to do some business development, I have to close some deals. And that was really where the penny dropped around, a firm the size of Accenture globally. And I was sending those emails saying, who do we know at, I think it was Cisco at the time. And, they absolutely had relationships there, but I couldn't get the answer. And it was like emails around the whole organization, to partners in the US, saying, who do we know here? And it was like, fundamentally, I'm dialing 1-800-SALES in Cisco to say, can you get me through to an engineer who'll tell me how I can do this proposal? So fundamentally flawed. And that's the concept of Datahug, which is, we do all this communication, we talk about big data. Datahug is very much focused on just that relationship layer, all the communications that go in and out of the organization, but it's extremely valuable because relationships matter. The premise of Datahug was really around solving this pain point around who do we know, how well do we know them, what's happened with those marketing leads, what's the ROI, are we engaged, are our customers going to renew, all based on communication patterns with prospects, with customers. So Datahug, the premise of Datahug was to automatically unlock this immense social graph. And to give you the kind of a sense of the scale, on average per professional employee, there's around 1,000 unique contacts sitting in your mundane communications, such as email. And if you kind of imagine that sheer scale of it, that's like in Accenture alone, it was a network twice the size of LinkedIn that was at your disposal based on communication signatures. So Datahug wasn't meant to be kind of a big brother that kind of, taps into everyone's emails and maybe pulls out, exposes, maybe sensitive information, but very much just the traffic of the communication. So who do we know? Who knows them best? When is an upcoming meeting? Maybe we can do a bit of cross-sell. Maybe we can get an introduction and so on. So the 3 pillars of Datahug was automatically unlock the network. Second was, don't serve me up some big data kind of nodal graph that shows this big spider diagram of we're connected to the world, because then I can't use it. So it was really around making that actionable. And that was using our algorithms to kind of infer a judgment of the strength of relationships. Who do we know best? Who's last communicated with them and so on. So that you can, at your fingertips in your organization, go, my colleague Jim, who's probably only sits next to me, but I didn't know he had a connection there, can give me the intelligence or can give me the warm introduction that I need. And thirdly was really around where, businesses today are inundated with, 1 million apps, 1 million bolt-ons, 1 million kind of platforms. And the challenge with all of that is adoption for users. What system am I logging into now to kind of do X or do Y? So Datahug was very much, the vision was to hug the workflow of our end users, which was plug in with the various systems that they have. So CRM, marketing automation, email clients, browsers, mobile phones, and so on. So it's just bring that information at your fingertips of, for example, I'd be sitting in an audience now listening to a speaker, type in and say, oh, speaker name, company X, search in Datahug, I say, oh, one of my colleagues spoke to him a year ago. And straight away I have an icebreaker, say, I see, one of my colleagues. It's very different to sitting in an audience and just not having the network of my company or the power of the individuals behind me at my disposal. So kind of Datahug in action. We kind of talked around CRM and, we integrate with all the leading CRM vendors. Salesforce is one of our biggest integrations and are also an investor in the company. One of the big things we help with, and this is just a window sitting in the various views within CRM, is imagine you go into CRM and you type in new accounts that I think we could do business with, and you just type in company X, and then straight away you get a view like this, which is all the people we know there. Who knows them best? When did we last speak to them? Without anyone ever entering any data. This is all just based on communications that happen today. Emails going in and out. And from there, you can automatically add and capture that information into your CRM. So that's the invaluable for a lot of people who have CRMs, heavily invested in them, that Datahug kind of, rescues some of that ROI around getting all the data in there and getting the true visibility of all the relationships. So you can see here the various kind of insights and analytics that you can drive from it. We probably won't delve into it in this session. But ultimately what it ends up is CRM users start believing in the CRM again. They know they can get the answer. And they start going back into the CRMs because you're removing the pain points of, I need to go in there and enter in, I met Joe Bloggs for coffee. So we kind of talked around where this matters and why this matters is around relationships matter in business to either win new customers, know how you're engaged, and at any point within Datahug, you can kind of see which of your colleagues has the warm introduction. So if it's someone in the support staff, there's an issue bubbling up and so on, and you can kind of monitor and track all the trending communications with target prospects, existing customers, and so on. So one of the, I think the key thing around Datahug is, and we talk about big data as being this absolute tsunami of data, and it is definitely an overhyped word because there's so much of it out there, and it's a case of what matters. What is the piece of data in there that's going to change my behavior when I go back to the office tomorrow? And really around the relationships, particularly if you even focus in on just deals alone, just closing deals. So whether you're professional services or tech companies, you track that we're hoping to close a deal, $1 million, in the next couple of months, and you rely on subjective kind of judgment on the sales person saying, yeah, that's going to close, put on the happy ears, and all's going great. Datahug is kind of tracking the people connected to those deals and actually saying, no, they're no longer responding to our communications. They're no longer taking the meetings. There's no longer, it's going single threaded, or we're not getting communication across the organization. And it's actually able to infer a judgment as to the likely outcome based on that, based on those communications. So that's some of the examples of what kind of Datahug brings to businesses, particularly in a sales-driven organization. So in terms of, we kind of started out very much as, it's probably based on our DNA, was selling to kind of professional services organizations, the consultants, the accountants, and so on. And that's maybe because we kind of saw like that relationships or business development only mattered at the kind of the high value or the highly paid professional. And really, as we kind of throughout the career, or the last couple of years, it was really a case of we realized it matters everywhere, even if it's like a 10-person organization, even if in an organization of 10 people where they have a network, as I said, which would be around 10,000 unique contacts. It's impossible for anyone to manage that, and so we've kind of grown into the tech sector as a result, and particularly because of the visibility we give in pipeline and trending and so on. So that's kind of our bread and butter stuff now at the minute is really in the technology and the financial services sector, and very much aligned to CRM and marketing automation. And it's really just a case of who do we know, how well do we know them, if I get a marketing lead, is it connected to someone in the organization already? Or if I do a big event like this, I can put everyone's details into a list in Datahug, and I'll say, actually, we started engaging with them after that event. What was the ROI on that, and so forth. So that relationship layer is what Datahug does. We unlock it automatically, and we set up in organizations within less than 4 hours. Thanks, guys.